So, something that you may or may not know about me is that I suffer with anxiety, and I have done since about the age of 8. I had glandular fever when I was 8 years old, and it made me feel really tired, and sometimes I even had like half days at school because I was exhausted. And ever since then, I've kind of had this fear of being, I don't know, like ill or really tired in public places, and that's where my panic attacks started from. I remember, I think I had to go shopping for like new shoes or something, and I remember curling up on a beanbag and crying because I just didn't want to go out, and I think that's definitely where my anxiety started. So I was 8, and I'm 22 now, so I've had it on and off for that entire period of time. So I kind of wanted to just like talk a bit about how it's affected me and how I have kind of overcome it to a certain extent. I find recently, especially, that lots of people have sort of been saying that they have anxiety when actually they're just a little bit nervous. And like, I know you can have it in a mild form, and I'm not disputing the fact that you feel anxious, but like if you really like have an anxiety disorder, or if you're like really suffering badly with it, it's kind of annoying to have like loads of people jumping on the bandwagon thinking it's a cool thing to have. It's really not something you want. If I could trade with someone for a day and just be normal and not have any kind of weird anxious thoughts floating around in my mind, I would do it in an instant because it's exhausting. What inspired me to do this video actually is an experience I had just last week. I have been feeling a bit weird for a while. I was feeling like my heart was skipping beats, and I wasn't like really worried because like I didn't feel ill or anything, but I thought I'll go to the doctors, I'll get it checked out. And then I had like tests and everything to make sure it was all fine, and then just to put my mind at rest, they referred me for a scan. And what I didn't realise is that a day before the scan I'd have to be fitted with a monitor thing. Some of you may have had it, I don't know. It was quite an experience. It was something to like measure my heart rate over 24 hours, and I was fine with it until I moved and the monitor sort of went off, and it was like making this really weird noise, and it freaked me out. All it was doing was like reconnecting, but in my brain I thought something's wrong with me. And ever since that moment I was panicking, and I had about 5 or 6 panic attacks in one day, which is so exhausting. So by like 11 o'clock at night I thought I'm going to have to take this off if I'm going to sleep. So I didn't wear it for the full 24 hours. But I went in the next day to the doctors and explained everything, and the doctor I saw was lovely, and I'm absolutely fine, there's nothing wrong with me, and I'm really happy about that. But he was really understanding because I sort of said my physical symptoms come out more when I'm anxious, and he was, like I said, very understanding, and he said that it's not all in my head, and that anxiety does present itself with very real symptoms, and to tell a patient or to tell anyone that it's all in their head is wrong, because obviously to us, and as you'll know if you suffer with it, it's very real and very scary at times. And he pointed me in the direction of this really cool thing called mindfulness, which I hadn't really heard of before, but I've been reading up about it over the last few days, and it's a Buddhist practice, but like you don't have to be religious to do it. And it's all about like being aware of your body and being aware of your surroundings and like living in the moment, and not being so fixated on like thoughts that might sort of creep up on you and like make you feel really anxious or scared. It's like about concentrating on things you can see and things you can feel and hear and everything like that. So it's really cool, and it's going to take some practice to do because it's quite hard to get out of a habit of constantly being anxious and like not enjoying yourself. But so yeah, that whole experience has kind of made me feel like I need to just like embrace what I'm doing now and not get so hung up on like thoughts, because especially now, because like I know nothing's wrong with me, so I can at least be more relaxed about that side. So another thing that happened, this was a few months ago when I first went to the doctors, was I explained that I was very anxious again, and my doctor referred me for this sort of talking therapy thing, and a really nice woman phoned me, and she was on the phone for about an hour, and we had a really in-depth conversation about what I was feeling and what physical symptoms I had, and how I was coping in sort of work and social life and everything like that. And ever since then, I felt better. And I don't know why. I think it's because hearing it coming from someone who you don't know and who doesn't know me, hearing her say, it is all in your head, like I know it's real, but it is actually just you creating this fear, it made me feel better, and I've looked at it in a completely different way. And it turns out what I actually have, or had, well, still have, is health anxiety. And I didn't really know it was a thing. I thought I was just being overly paranoid. But basically, health anxiety is when you are constantly paranoid that any little symptom or anything you feel is going to be something awful, or it's like it's going to kill you, or like you're going to be sentenced to death just because you've got a headache or something like that. And people laugh at it and say, look, you're a hypochondriac and everything, that's fine. But when it gets to a point where, like, I was checking myself for things about 10 times a day, if not more, and it ended up actually hurting me because I was making myself sore and everything because I was like checking constantly, which is not healthy. And I know people encourage you to check things, but not that much because it's ridiculous. And I've also talked before about how comedy can help. And I was actually having a conversation with my doctor as he was doing a scan on me about comedy, and how I was saying like how I laugh at my anxiety now, like when it crops up, because it's not, I mean, it's nowhere near as bad as it was like 3 years ago. I mean, it's awful. 3 years ago I really was struggling to even like go into shops, and to be honest I still kind of do, but not to the extent I used to. But yeah, I kind of laugh at it now and just be like, yeah, well, you're not going to ruin my life, you're just a thought and you don't mean anything to me, so I'm just going to enjoy myself. Buses freak me out. People often say to me like, oh, you can just get a bus, or you can just get a taxi, or you can just get a train. And I can't, like, I simply can't. It's not like I'm being difficult. If you came with me I could do it, but I'm honestly not being difficult. It's just, it's so hard for me to calm myself down. Like, I need to know that I can stop, and with someone driving me in a car I know that I can say to them, can you stop? Whereas a bus driver might not be too happy about it, and even if he did stop, I would be somewhere I didn't need to be, and I don't need that extra pressure in my life, because I never know where I am anyway. Sometimes I'm in my house and I forget where I am, so I'm not the best person to just be like left in the middle of nowhere by a bus driver. Large gatherings freak me out slightly as well, things where you have to be social, especially when like people are drinking and things, because I don't really drink, so it's quite daunting for me, because I'm not shy as such, but I find it difficult to speak because I always think I'm going to say something stupid. I usually do, but until I sort of hit my stride and get used to people, I find it really difficult. But gigs and stuff I'm fine with, because I think it's like a choice. I choose to do it, so I know already that I'm the best way that I can describe anxiety is like having two sides of your brain, the rational side and the irrational side, and they're like having a fight constantly, and you don't know who to listen to. And actually, when you're mid-panic attack, the irrational side is probably the one you favour, because it's totally mental and nothing makes sense, and you just go with what, I mean, when I've been mid-panic attack, like I've done weird things, like I do weird things. I'll need to change rooms, I need to change positions, I need to, like, if I'm sitting down I need to stand up, if I'm in a shop or something, like I can't deal sometimes with like massive queues in shops, and if I know I have to wait and I know there's people watching me, I get really, really anxious, and I get like, I have to move around a lot, I have to like wander off, look at things, I sometimes have to go out the shop, I have to talk to people about pointless things, although I do that anyway. So yeah, I do a lot of weird things when I panic. Someone said to me once that the best thing to do is like change your body temperature or something. Like if you're in the house and you're able to, like, go have a really hot shower or a really cold shower, apparently that makes you feel better. But if I'm honest, that probably made me more anxious. I was really bad with my anxiety about 3 years ago, really bad, like I said, but and sort of a few months ago this year as well, I was quite bad because I was worried about like all these symptoms I was having and stuff, but it turns out it's nothing. I have a habit of worrying about nothing, but you know, I it was making me. I'm not going to say it made me depressed, but it made me tired and it made me unhappy, very unhappy. And I used to like lay in bed at night and I used to, like when you can't get to sleep and you start thinking of all these things. Sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're sad. Or mine were like I was thinking of all sad things and things that I missed and stuff like that. And you kind of have to stop yourself crying, and you're like on your own in the dark, and you're like, oh my god, my life's awful. And I was doing that quite a lot because I was just worried about everything. And then I think the moment when I sort of realised I was kind of over it, well, especially over like the really bad point, was when a few nights ago I was doing the exact same thing, lying in the dark on my own, and I was just thinking of funny things and I was trying not to laugh instead of cry. So I think that was when I sort of realised, okay, I'm getting better again, which is good. You shouldn't be afraid to talk about it, and you shouldn't be afraid to let people know you have it. And if people make fun of you or they try and force you into things, just ask them what they hate the most, and then ask how much they'd like it if you did that to them. Anxiety is very, very real, and it shouldn't be passed off as just like someone being difficult or antisocial or a wimp or something, because I've been called all those things. And once you get to know me, I'm fine. And one day, you'll find people who totally understand, they won't care. But yeah, there's always help out there and stuff. And I feel like this video has been way too nice. So I was going to suggest that you can talk to me about it, but no, you can't. Suffer on your own. I'm kidding. You can talk to me if you want. I don't care.